It feels like a pretty good time to put together some power rankings and see how everybody's stacking up.
Can the Raiders catch up with the Kansas City? Nope. I don't even want to hear the question.
With most of the notable free agents signed, let's look at how all 32 teams stack up against each other in the newest edition of our power rankings. Number 32, Arizona Cardinals. Last time's ranking, 30. Not the most inspiring start to the offseason for the Cardinals. Zach Allen and Byron Murphy were lost in free agency, and new GM Monty Austinfort hasn't done a whole lot to improve this roster. J.J. Watt and A.J. Green were lost to retirement and not replaced. Kyler Murray will miss several games recovering from surgery on his torn ACL. It's already looking like 2023 could be one of the worst years in the franchise's history. Number 31, Indianapolis Colts. Last time's ranking, 28. It was quite the blow for the Colts when the Carolina Panthers moved up to number 1. That means at least 2 quarterbacks will get taken before their 4th overall pick, and possibly even a 3rd, should the Cardinals decide to move the number 3 pick before the draft. On the bright side, there are still 4 very intriguing quarterback prospects, so the Colts are guaranteed one of them. And they also have a pretty solid bridge QB in Gardner Minshew. Number 30, Houston Texans. Last time's ranking, 31. GM Nick Caserio has made some notable short-term pickups like guard Shaq Mason, receiver Robert Woods, running back Devin Singletary, and tight end Dalton Schultz. But his biggest move is coming at the draft when Houston lands either CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. Number 29, Chicago Bears. Last time's ranking, 32. Ryan Poles is a man on a mission. He acquired DJ Moore and some valuable draft capital from Carolina in exchange for the number 1 pick, before picking up standout linebackers Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards in free agency. The Bears have a long way to go, but few teams have had a better offseason up to this point. Number 28, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last time's ranking, 26. Aside from retaining Jamal Dean and Levante David, it's been a relatively quiet offseason for GM Jason Light in the wake of Tom Brady's retirement. The Bucs took a chance on 2018 first overall pick Baker Mayfield, but we're pretty skeptical that Tampa is the place for him to revive his career. With Brady now out of the picture, it feels like the dreadful days of mediocrity are coming back to West Florida. Number 27, Washington Commanders. Last time's ranking, 23. Ron Rivera has given the Sam Howell-Jacoby Brissett tandem quite the vote of confidence. Only time will tell if it actually works out, though. GM Martin Mayhew's big move was extending star defensive lineman Daron Payne, but Mayhew's most important work still lies ahead. Number 26, Las Vegas Raiders. Last time's ranking, 29. The Raiders' decision to replace Derek Carr with a very injury-prone Jimmy Garoppolo is a calculated risk. The big question is, do they plan on adding another quarterback at the draft? Garoppolo is fine as a bridge QB, but come on, let's face it, he's not exactly the long-term answer for this team. Number 25, Carolina Panthers. Last time's ranking, 27. Carolina will have their choosing between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Quite frankly, they can't go wrong with either one. GM Scott Fitterer wasted a little time getting weapons for his next QB, signing running back Miles Sanders, wideout Adam Thielen, and tight end Hayden Hurst. Safety Von Bell and defensive lineman Shai Tuttle were also quality additions at good prices. Number 24, Atlanta Falcons. Last time's ranking, 24. Jesse Bates was a big overpay. But we won't fault the Falcons too much there. They needed secondary help, and GM Terry Fontenot had plenty of cap space to work with here. And if Desmond Ridder isn't the guy, ex-commander Taylor Heineke is a fine replacement option for the time being. Number 23, Green Bay Packers. Last time's ranking, 20. We're still waiting for Aaron Rodgers to actually be traded to the New York Jets, but once that happens, go ahead and write off the Packers as a potential playoff team for 2023. That would give GM Brian Gutekunst 2 first-rounders in the top half to rebuild the offense accordingly in the post-Rodgers era. Number 22, Los Angeles Rams. Last time's ranking, 19. The Rams did the expected by sending away all-pro corner Jalen Ramsey, dealing in with the Miami Dolphins for a 3rd-round pick and tight end Hunter Long. The move opened up cap space, sure, but GM Les Snead hasn't really made any eye-catching moves to shore up their roster. If Matt Stafford, Aaron Donald, and Cooper Kupp are back to full health, the Rams will be a playoff contender. You never want to bet against a team with Sean McVay as its head coach, but, there are several gaping holes for Snead to fill between now and week 1. Number 21, Baltimore Ravens. Last time's ranking, 8. Quite the drop for the Ravens here. But such is life when your franchise QB takes to Twitter to reveal that he requested a trade weeks ago. And the Ravens don't really have a suitable replacement lined up unless they get their hands on a top 4 pick to take a QB. In an ideal world, Jackson and the Ravens agree to play nice for one more year, then explore their options in 2024. Number 20, Tennessee Titans. Last time's ranking, 22. This was a chance for GM Rand Carthon to retool or rebuild, but he decided to stay the course by sticking with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. The Titans made one big splash by signing ex-Jacksonville Jaguar Arden Key in free agency. He should make a big impact on one of football's best defensive fronts. Andre Dillard was an overpay at a defensive tackle though, and the Titans still need to address the O-line come draft time. Number 19, Denver Broncos. Last time's ranking, 18. The Broncos overpaid Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey in free agency, but they didn't really have a choice. Changes on the O-line needed to happen after that unit allowed a league-high 63 sacks in 2022. Now Broncos fans cross their fingers and hope that Sean Payton can turn this team around in a hurry. Number 18, New Orleans Saints. Last time's ranking, 25. Replacing Andy Dalton with Derek Carr was a big win to start with. Then GM Mickey Loomis picked up last year's rushing touchdowns leader Jamal Williams on a bargain 3-year deal worth $12 million. This team already looks poised for a return to the postseason for the first time in the post-Drew Brees era. Number 17, Cleveland Browns. Last time's ranking, 17. Is this the year the Browns finally find a capable pass rusher to complement Myles Garrett? Dalvin Tomlinson may be the most underrated pickup of this offseason, or perhaps even fellow free agent signing Ogbonia Okoronkwo can help fill that void. Meanwhile, Elijah Moore could step in and be that number 2 wideout that the Browns desperately needed in 2022. Low-key, this has been a quality offseason thus far for GM Andrew Berry. Number 16, New England Patriots. Last time's ranking, 16. Honestly, removing Matt Patricia and Joe Judge from offensive play-calling duties was enough for the Patriots to win the offseason. Belichick's old friend and new OC, Bill O'Brien, should help Mac Jones rebound from an ugly sophomore year. Belichick found a savvy replacement for Jacoby Myers in Juju Smith-Schuster, and ex-Miami tight end Mike Gesicki gives Jones another dangerous red zone weapon to work with. Number 15, New York Jets. Last time's ranking, 21. This ranking is based on the assumption that the Jets land Aaron Rodgers. Will he make them a bona fide Super Bowl contender? Well, that's debatable. But they're at least a playoff team if, and hopefully, when he arrives. Number 14, Seattle Seahawks. Last time's ranking, 15. The Hawks were able to extend Geno Smith before GM John Schneider went to work in free agency. Old friend Bobby Wagner was brought back after being away for a year. Ex-Broncos standout pass rusher Draymond Jones and former New York Giants safety Julian Love were also brought in to aid an already deep defense loaded with young talent. Shall we mention the Seahawks have 4 draft picks in the top 50 as well? Number 13, Pittsburgh Steelers. Last time's ranking, 13. Never a team to go crazy in free agency, the Steelers stuck to tradition but landed one future Hall of Famer in Patrick Peterson on a 2-year deal. Ex-Eagles guard Isaac Somalo and former Washington linebacker Cole Holcomb also arrived on 3-year packs. The upcoming draft will give GM Omar Khan the chance to shore up this roster's last couple of weaknesses, like cornerback and the offensive line. Number 12, Detroit Lions. Last time's ranking, 14. A grade A showing by GM Brad Holmes up to this point. Detroit bolstered their leaky secondary by signing do-it-all safety Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and cornerbacks Cameron Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley. Throw in those 2 first-round picks, including the number 6 overall selection, and you have a team that's playoff ready. Number 11, New York Giants. Last time's ranking, 12. Joe Shane managed to retain Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, which were 2 big W's to start with. He wasted no time upgrading Jones' supporting cast, landing former Pro Bowl tight end Darren Waller in a trade with Vegas and signing ex-Colt Paris Campbell to a low-risk 1-year contract. The draft will help Shane add in even more weapons to that rapidly improving offense. Number 10, Minnesota Vikings. Last time's ranking, 10. Rebuilding the defense was the main priority for many. So far, not so bad. They got Marcus Davenport on a 1-year deal. That's a potential steal. Patrick Peterson was replaced with a younger Byron Murphy. They're still the team to beat in the NFC North, but adding a couple of more impactful starters on that defense would certainly help. Number 9, Miami Dolphins. Last time's ranking, 11. GM Chris Greer made a big-time move by acquiring superstar corner Jalen Ramsey from the Rams. Ramsey and Xavier Howard could very well form football's best cornerback tandem in 2023 and beyond. The defense looks better on paper. If they can translate that to the field, Miami will be a legitimate contender in the AFC. Number 8, Los Angeles Chargers. Last time's ranking, 9. It's been a relatively quiet offseason for GM Tom Telesco thus far, save for the signing of ex-Vikings Pro Bowler Eric Kendricks. Even as it stands, the Chargers team, when healthy, can go toe-to-toe with just about anybody in the AFC. Number 7, Jacksonville Jaguars. Last time's ranking, 7. Unlike last year, the Jaguars have been relatively quiet in free agency. They've lost 2 quality starters and offensive lineman Jawan Taylor and underrated pass rusher Arden Key. There's a lot to like on this roster, but another offensive playmaker and one more impact player on defense wouldn't hurt. Number 6, Dallas Cowboys. Last time's ranking, 6. What an offseason for Jerry Jones this far. Acquiring stalwart corner Stephon Gilmore and wide receiver Brandon Cooks for late-round picks from Indy and Houston respectively. Cutting Ezekiel Elliott was necessary, as hard as it may have been. Will they try to replace him at the draft by taking Bijan Robinson? It seems like the type of thing Jerry Jones would do. Number 5, Buffalo Bills. Last time's ranking, 5. Retaining Jordan Poyer on a team-friendly deal was a big win, but it's been a lackluster offseason in Orchard Park thus far. GM Brandon Beane hasn't found a capable number 2 wideout, and the O-line is still riddled with question marks. Oh, and who's going to replace Tremaine Edmonds? Number 4, Cincinnati Bengals. Last time's ranking, 4. The AFC runner-ups lost Samaje Perine, Hayden Hurst, Von Bell, and Jesse Bates, which is concerning enough, but they did land ex-Chiefs superstar offensive tackle Orlando Brown Jr. and ex-Cardinals guard Cody Ford. Fixing the O-line was once again the Bengals' main priority, and Duke Tobin accomplished that. Number 3, Philadelphia Eagles. Last time's ranking, 2. They lost a lot of talent in free agency, but it could have been worse. GM Harry Roseman managed to retain his star cornerback duo of Darius Slay and James Bradbury, just when it looked like both were gone. And let's not pretend the Eagles are suddenly deprived of superstars. They'll be just fine. Number 2, San Francisco 49ers. Last time's ranking, 3. San Fran narrowly gets the nod over Philly simply because they lost less talent in free agency. Adding Hargrave to that scary good defensive front was a huge win, and the fact that they signed him away from Philly is a double whammy. Number 1, Kansas City Chiefs. Last time's ranking, 1. Lots of talent lost, no doubt, but the Chiefs have aced the art of replacing big-name talent with cheaper and lesser-known guys. We ain't worried. They are the champs for a reason. They will be fine. This is Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes we're talking about. But what changes would you make to our post-free agency power rankings? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.